You answer the question, sir.
I'm answering the question. You're questioning the integrity of the deputy director of the FBI and mine.
If you found any
and I'm going to
evidence.
answer the question.
Everyone is talking, but no one is telling the real story. Are you ready to hear it? Senator Dick Durbin took his place at the microphone with multiple files in front of him and a question heading in a very different direction. He had listened through several rounds of testimony, and when his turn came, he did not begin with pleasantries. The first issue he brought up was a topic that had surfaced in the news before the hearing, and he intended to go directly after it. He told Kash Patel that in addition to the extensive removal of nonpartisan career FBI officials, reports indicated that dozens of remaining officials had been subjected to polygraph examinations to test their loyalty. According to the information he obtained, during the current administration, approximately 40 officials had been asked to take a polygraph, and several were asked whether they had ever made negative comments about Patel personally. What is happening here actually shows us in full detail how balance of power is being tested. Durbin clarified his tone before asking his question. He stated that FBI agents pledge their loyalty to the Constitution and to the United States, not to the director personally. He asked what the basis was for demanding the workforce to take polygraph exams and asking employees whether they had made negative comments about the director. Patel's response was immediate and pointed. He told Durbin that he did not know what reports he was referring to, and he rejected any news containing false information, stating he would not respond to these questions on that basis. Regarding the general topic of polygraphs, he said they have always been utilized at the FBI to identify those who leak sensitive information and make unauthorized disclosures to the media. He stated that this practice would continue. The attitude adopted by the parties reminds us of just how sharp the power of oversight in the American state tradition can be. Durbin moved forward without pausing at this response. He asked whether any individual serving on the senior executive team, the director's advisory team, or in positions on the 7th floor had received disqualifying alerts on their polygraphs. Patel refused to get into specific details. He stated that he would not get into personnel discussions held over a polygraph, characterizing them as private conversations, and noted that many of them were related to ongoing investigations. Durbin asked whether Patel or Attorney General Bondi had granted a waiver to any individual so they could remain employed after receiving disqualifying alerts. Patel said he would have to get back to this question later. Durbin did not let this moment pass quietly. Noting that Patel did not remember, he expressed his observation that having a good memory is important when appearing before a committee. Patel did not accept this framing. He stated that his priority was not getting into the weeds of polygraphs, but rather better protecting the American public. Pointing to the crime statistics he had shared earlier, he mentioned the drop in violent crime rates and the performance of law enforcement in cities like Chicago. He said he would happily take credit for that alongside their partners and the men and women of the Chicago Police Department. Durbin changed the subject. Returning to the topic of Deputy Director Dan Bonino, he described him as a conspiracy theorist who had built a career using inflammatory and baseless statements about the FBI that would be a disqualifying factor in any administration that cared about nonpartisan law enforcement. As a specific example, Durbin stated that Bonino had characterized the placement of dangerous devices outside the DNC and RNC headquarters on January 6th as an inside job, and that he continued to say it was a setup. Durbin said he had zero doubt about this. Given that Patel and Bonino are currently running the FBI, Durbin asked what evidence existed to suggest that the dangerous devices placed outside the two-party headquarters were an inside job. Patel said he appreciated the opportunity to discuss Bonino's background because many people on the committee and in the media were dismissing 31 years of public service. Durbin immediately cut in and lashed out. He told Patel to answer the question. Patel said he was answering it and pushed back against the framing, stating that Durbin was questioning the integrity of the deputy director and of himself. He then stated that the explosive device investigation was ongoing and that he would not discuss the details of an active investigation. He went on to describe Bonino's background as a Secret Service agent for 15 years and a police officer for 5 years, and mentioned his own 16 years of government service across different administrations. He characterized this as a combined 31 years of experience currently at the helm of the FBI, delivering in his own words, historic results at historic speeds for the American people. He said he found the dismissal of this experience to be disgusting. Durbin's response was quite brief. He said he was looking forward to seeing the evidence Patel had mentioned. Don't you think something seems missing or not fully explained here? There was a new topic next. Durbin brought up an issue involving an individual named Chris Meyer, who was featured in the New York Times that morning and who he said had served as Patel's private pilot for at least some time. He also referred to another agent named Jordana, detailing his background extensively. Jordana was a former FBI agent, a 1,999 graduate of the U.S. Naval Academy, who had commanded 100 Marines in combat during the 2003 invasion of Iraq, participated in numerous firefights, and deployed to Afghanistan again in 2011 as a reservist to interrogate senior Taliban officials. Durbin said it appeared that both agents had been terminated. He bluntly asked why. Patel said he would not get into personnel decisions that had been made. Durbin pressed him. He asked whether Patel was responsible for decisions to take people who had served the country so admirably and fire them without cause. Patel characterized this as a one-sided story. He stated that anyone fired from the FBI was free to tell their side of the story, and that those who were fired had failed to meet the needs of the FBI and to fulfill their constitutional duties. He said that presenting a one-sided account of what he called a purge was an absolute disgrace, and that the men and women of the FBI deserved better. He added that attacking the current leadership was equally disgraceful, because these leaders were brave sacks doing the job the country needed. The real issue here is beyond words. The real issue is the different paths both sides are drawing for America's future. Durbin responded in kind. He said it was a disgrace that individuals like Meyer and Jordana, who had served their country so well, were fired, apparently, because of the complaints of a broadcaster. Patel said this was not a fact, but merely an opinion. Durbin said it was his opinion and one that he could support with facts. The next phase of the questioning involved a specific FBI operation in Baltimore. Durbin asked Patel if he had read a news story about the termination of a project there involving a group known as 764. He asked whether Patel knew about this investigation. Patel said he did not know. Saying it would take too long, Durbin did not go into extensive detail, but he described the 764 group as a radical online group aiming to target vulnerable individuals online for illicit exploitation, and noted that this group had been under investigation by the Baltimore office before it was terminated. He asked Patel to respond in writing to the circumstances of this termination. Patel agreed to do this. He stated that FBI operations against what he called dangerous radical networks had been historically active during his tenure, and that numerous rings, including the 764 ring involved in severe cyber crimes, had been taken down. Then they moved to a different topic. Durbin said that Patel had stated in his opening remarks that training requirements at Quantico were being reduced. He asked Patel to explain why he removed the college degree requirement. Patel directly pushed back against this. He said Durbin was mischaracterizing the facts. If you notice, the ungiven answers explain everything just as much as the questions do. He stated that the FBI was not reducing training requirements, but on the contrary, expanding them. Patel explained that what Durbin was referring to was a crossover program for personnel wishing to transfer to the FBI from other federal law enforcement agencies like the DEA, ATF, Marshal Service, and Secret Service. He stated that these individuals were given a shortened bridge program because they had already received significant training through their prior service. He said that the standard 18-week basic field training course at Quantico remained intact. He expressed that requirements had not been reduced, but increased. Durbin then specifically asked about college degrees. Patel confirmed that a change had been made. He stated that the FBI was now allowing police officers who had served for several years and had not obtained a college degree to apply to become federal agents. The justification he provided was that such individuals possess street-level experience directly related to the FBI's mission. Durbin ended his remarks at that point without making further comments on the hiring issue. The senator was not objecting to arrest numbers or illicit substance seizures. His focus was on internal practices. Who was asked what questions? Who was allowed to stay after failing exams? Who was dismissed despite successful careers? And which standards were applied to whom? Patel's consistent approach throughout this exchange was to reject the framing of every question before answering. Although he admitted in the waiver question that he could not remember and would have to follow up, he did not compromise on any of the specific claims Durbin brought up. The response given regarding the fired agents quickly shifted from the named individuals to a broader defense of institutional integrity. On the college degree change, his pivot to the crossover bridge program reframed the policy shift as an expansion rather than a narrowing. Durbin seemed to have tried to cover every topic. Patel answered on his own terms wherever he could manage it, and delayed or deflected when he deemed it necessary. So, what is the main question left in your mind after this historic session? Don't forget to write your thoughts in the comments. I read all of your comments. Some answers may not have been given today. However, history will absolutely record them. Who do you think history will prove right?